and welcome to The Ripple Effect. I'm Jessica Osbrook, and this is Kim Graves from Solidarity Community Federal Credit Union.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi, missed you.
I know. I haven't seen you since the day before yesterday.
I know. I just feel like it's been forever.
Ghost, time does not fly when Kim's not around, that's for sure. We have a special guest with us today. Christy Tate is with us from the the Suicide Prevention Coalition.
Correct.
Okay, so this is a fairly new.
Oh yes, like we were just joking that like we're out of infancy barely, but we're like toddlers, so we're finding our way. But yeah, it was a COVID start right before the pandemic, and we had to hit the ground running, take off,
Especially during
stuff.
time.
Yeah, it was a lot, but those of us that are doing it's a labor of love.
So what inspired you to start this?
It was actually started by a different group than is running it now. So we had a couple of forebearers that did it, and they just saw the need that like people don't know where they can go. I mean, suicide is there, but a lot of people don't like talking about it. So it becomes kind of one of those taboo subjects. There's a stigma around it. And so there was just a need to, hey, here's where you can go. Here's what you can go do if you're in need. And it was really started out of that. And then they decided that this should really be a volunteer run organization. And so there was a group of us that were approached and said, hey, would you be willing to do this? And we were like, oh my gosh, we all have these personal stories around it. So yeah, we it's a labor of love, and we do it because of the importance of it. So it really just stemmed out of sheer need.
Do you feel like right now that the suicide rate is higher than it's ever been?
I think that it is, yes, but I don't think it's quite as drastic as people think it is. I mean, obviously, every suicide is a tragedy, but I think it's being talked about more now, and it's being addressed more. And so when there is a suicide, it's not being mislabeled. It's not, an accidental overdose, although those, we all know that happen.
They happen.
But it may be they're getting looked into more. So it's okay, this was actually a suicide, or this accident was actually a suicide. So I think that it's a big combination of a lot of things. It's being talked about more, and it's being investigated more. So I think that although the rates are higher, in actuality, whether or not they are, we don't know, because it's just now started to be looked at as the real problem that it actually is. So I think there's a lot going on there. And I think with all the awful things that happened because of the pandemic,
Traumatized.
we were.
Yeah.
But I also think that one of the silver linings is mental health became a lot more important. So now it's being talked about, and that stigma is starting to dissipate, although it's still there. So I think that one of the silver linings is mental health is now becoming a priority. And so people are looking at suicide and mental health issues in a different light than they were before.
We've talked a lot about mental health on this podcast, and
it's great.
When we've talked about suicide, like you said, not a lot of people like to talk about it. And there are so many people that have been affected by this in their lives. And it's something that affects people of all ages.
It's
not teenagers, it's not adults, it's everybody.
It is everyone. It is across the board. I mean, if one of the highest rates of suicide is middle-aged men. And
wow.
Yeah.
Surprised.
And it's you look at it and you're going like, really? But again, it's that stigmatized thing where people don't talk about it. And then, oh, well, they were, who knows what really happened in this instant. So you start looking at this data and you're going, wow, this is not what I really expected to come out of suicide.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
Middle-aged men, we love you.
Yes.
Take your mental health.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, thank goodness, you can provide so many different services to say, hey, we're here for you. Hey, we can help you. We can work through this. You're not in this by yourself.
And I think that is the main message. I'm a suicide survivor myself. And that was the main thing is, you feel alone. You feel like
that is the thing.
Yeah.
It's the loneliness.
It is. It's, because those were my thoughts of,
nobody wants to be around me.
Exactly. And it's so opposite to my actual life experience. Like I have an amazing family. My friends are, my group of core friends are my sisters. Like I have an amazing support system and I know that now. But at the time I was like, I'm alone. Nobody understands what I'm going through. And it's so isolating and you feel like there's no other option.
And sometimes when you're feeling like that, and I know personally that you isolate because you don't, you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to.
It's now I actually tell my friends, like now that I'm on the other side of it, I have actually gone to my friends and I said, look, I'm in a bad place. And if you notice me pulling away, you need to say something, whatever, because I know I have that tendency. I pull away and I live alone. So it's really easy for me to do. So and luckily they've been really good about, they'll call and be like, hey, we haven't heard from you in a couple of days. We're worried what's going on. So and now, my parents are aware. That was the hardest conversation for me to have.
We know your parents. Yes. It was hard, but they're lovely.
They are amazing. But there was also something freeing about telling them. It was like, hey, and it was this coalition that helped me get there. Like my best friend had lost a brother due to suicide. So she was brought in through her sisters who, again, kind of knew somebody. And she called me and was like, hey, is this something you'd be interested in getting involved in? And I was like, I think I would. I think this would be, I've been looking for a way to volunteer. I've been looking for something to kind of pour my non-existent free time into. And
non-existent free time.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
So does Kim.
Yeah. Everyone knows. We all know.
Free time.
Yeah. Free time. What? But then I thought, you know what? Maybe this will be good for me. And then through the coalition, I was able to tell people that had no idea. They knew I was passionate about it, but they didn't know why. So I was able to actually kind of start having those conversations, and just the catharsis that came out of that was almost unbelievable, which is, again, counterintuitive to the whole experience of surviving suicide. So it helped me, again, realize, like, you are not alone.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
And I imagine it helped a lot of other people realize that too when you told that.
Yeah, it was one of the, and to this day, it gives me goosebumps. We have a walk of hope every year that we've started doing for people that have lost somebody and for survivors. This year is our 3rd annual, September 8th.
Yay.
Come join us at Mr. Park. But the first year we always like to have a story to go along with it, along with the stats, to make it more personal. And I was like, I'll tell my story. Like, it's time, I'll take 10 minutes and do this. And after I was done, one of the ladies who was in attendance was there with her daughter, and her daughter turned to her and was like, hey, Mom, I'm in a bad place. I think I need some help. And she came to us later and was like, told us that. And I'm not a crier, like, it's not my thing, but I was so close in that moment. And just the note, like, hey, one of the darkest times in my life led to somebody else getting help.
That's right. Even one person.
And it was like, I was like, this whole experience has been worth it because of that one girl who is now getting the help she needs to move past that. So it was, and I hope that, like, everyone is able to have an experience like that, because it was like, okay, this is worth it. This is why we do what we do, is to save people.
I mean, it's amazing what you're doing, because you are making sure that the experience that you went through, you're letting people know they have value.
Yeah. Every life is worth it.
Every life is worth it. And what they're doing is important to other people, whether they want to believe it or not.
Exactly.
You're making them feel that way. And it's just,
that's why we do what we do.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. And
just how many people, just if you hear the statistics of how many people are affected by one suicide, I mean, it can be up close to 100 people are with everything, like you guys' podcast is the ripple effect. That's what suicide creates, is a ripple effect. There can be secondary suicides because of the one. I mean, one suicide affects so many people, like I mentioned, my best friend losing a brother, and, she, it was just to hear her family talk about that is heartbreaking, because that they have 4 siblings and they have a huge family. I mean, their family is massive, and that just affected so many people. And years later, I mean, it was, she was a child when it happened, and now all these years later, it still affects her. And I see how it affects her sisters and her parents and cousins, and it's just, I can't even imagine. Like, if just I think about that now, like, I could have, my family's not as big as hers, but like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have been able to meet my niece and nephew who are like joys to me now. And I wouldn't have had the job I have and know my coworkers. And, I would have not known my best friends as long. And I've had some amazing life experiences since then. And I'm thinking I would have, those all would have been gone.
What can our community or family members do differently to help someone that they notice that might be pulling back?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What can we do? I mean, we need to love each other.
Yes,
regardless.
Number one,
love each other and show support of each other.
Yes,
you may not agree with everything everybody does.
Of course,
that's going to.
Yeah, I certainly don't. Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Yeah,
but love them and support them.
Yes,
good.
And that's honestly number one. I think that if I had again, looking back in hindsight, a decade later, like I know I was loved in that moment. But I think that if somebody had just said, "Are you okay? Hey, are you okay?"
Okay.
Yeah, like I think, and again, I had isolated. I had done everything I could to not let anyone know where I was. But I think just that simple question of, "Hey, you know what? I'm here for you. I'm checking on you. Are you okay?" Even in, just because if you have somebody's having a bad day, God only knows what that bad day actually is. So I think just asking the question, we do a series of trainings through the Suicide Prevention Coalition called QPR, which is question, persuade, and refer. And that is the first step is, are you okay? Because a lot of times that's all it takes. If somebody had asked me that in an honest way, I don't know what my response would have been, but I have a feeling it probably would have not like broke me in a bad way, but broke me in a good way. It would have got me out of that mental spiral, out of that drain to go, you know what, I'm not okay. And who knows what would have happened. I mean, I might not have got to the planning and the, that stage that I was at before. Thank God I, kind of kicked myself out of it and went, what am I doing? But not everyone gets there. So
when we talk about mental health, there's still that, just pull yourself.
Yeah. Your bootstraps.
Like I don't have bootstraps.
Thank you.
And I like
that's a pirate term, and I'm not a pirate.
Quality mental health.
Exactly.
Not just for me, for my family, my friends, my coworkers.
And it's so hard. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest crises our country is facing right now is a mental health crisis.
Right.
Luckily, I love people. People is what I do. It's my job. And I am a huge advocate of therapy and getting mental health. I am in active therapy. It is, thank God for my therapist. Like, shout out to Doris. Like, she's amazing. Don't ever leave me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I've had 2 therapists. They've both been great. And it's changed my perspective on a lot. I have a lot more coping skills, but I also talk to people at my job who, when I'm like, hey, like, we have an EAP and go, we have all these options. And they're just like, I cannot find a therapist that has spots to be able to take a new patient.
Oh yeah.
Because there's just, it's a crisis and it's happening across the country. So getting the help that you need isn't as easy as people think it is.
Well, there's a lot of online options that
there is.
Some people have had great luck with.
Oh yeah. Like BetterHelp is great. I mean, there's apps out there. Like, I'm not great at meditation, but I try. And so there's like Calm and Headspace. So even if you can't get into a therapist now, there are options that you can at least get something to help tide you over, get you through. And, I tell people, call the suicide prevention hotline.
That's what they're there for.
They will talk to you.
988.
So instead of 911 is your physical health, 988 is your mental health.
Okay.
And if you tell them I'm in a bad place, they will talk you through it. They will stay on the phone as long as you need them. I mean, I know people that have had to make a couple of different calls to the hotline, and they've said each time like how amazing the people that work those hotlines are.
It's a special person.
It does. And again, they've been there, they've been through it, they understand it. It's amazing.
It's just, I mean, everything is just really different now. Mental health is at a new level. And I keep hearing how it is at a crisis level. And me being a little bit older than you two young girls
like 5
has made me think,
thank you.
Is it really at that level that everybody is saying. And the more that I sit back and I watch, I'm like, it really is.
It really is.
And it's kind of
talked about.
Yeah, because you're hearing about it. And I think before it was kind of hidden.
And it was taboo.
Like what you were saying. You just don't bring it up because we don't want to talk about it. But I think the more people talk about it, the more recognizable it becomes.
It is.
And then the more people are able to help.
Right. And I've seen it a lot with the younger generation. Like they are more willing to talk about their mental health. And that is such a positive thing. Like I would rather, my niece is 10. She's starting to go through puberty. It's a whole thing. Just hearing her talk about her, like I've told her, you can come to me for anything. Like I know I'm not your mom, but I love you as much as, I love you with everything I have. If you need to talk to me, come to me. Like if you are having a problem at school, come to me. Like I've been through that. I've been there. Like again, keep telling her, like, you're not alone. You've got so many people to come to. And I think this younger generation hearing that and having it ingrained into part of their confidence level and part of everything, like I think that's only going to benefit them to where hopefully they don't get to a point when they feel that isolated, because life does that. So if as humans, if we can kind of counteract that in any way, that's just going to be a positive thing for this younger generation. Right. Let's do better by them than what society did by us, because it's a change of society.
Yes, it is.
They live in a whole different world than we did.
Even just the difference from millennials.
Oh my God. It's crazy.
Bad way.
No, not in a bad way. I mean, there are, pluses and minuses, but I don't think talking about your mental health is anything.
I think it's amazing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so there's this song before we talk about hope. Yeah. It is one of my favorites, especially when I'm down in the dumps. It's called "You Are Not Alone" by Mavis Staples. You heard that song?
I have not.
Are you going to sing it?
No, I cannot do Mavis Staples justice, but listen to it.
I will. I'll go. Well, and we create a playlist every year for the
A Broken Heart, Isolated and Afraid. Open up, this is a raid.
Ooh,
it's so good. You're probably going to cry.
I probably will, because there's also a song, and I can, for the love of God, cannot remember it, but it is actually a suicide prevention song that was it was at a film or a music festival a couple of years ago, and the guy who sings it wears 988 shirts, and he hands out like 988 merch whenever he sings it, and it is, if you just look up like suicide prevention song, it'll pop right up. And it's one of those, says something similar of like, you can get the help you need. You can move on. Life gets better. There's a rainbow at the end of every cloud. It's the same thing. Like I heard it for the first time and went, this couldn't be beyond the best thing I've ever heard. Wow. Yeah. So I'm gonna
you're gonna love it.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So your event coming up on September 28th.
September 28th. So the last Saturday of September. September is actually Suicide Prevention Month. So we like to kind of dovetail with that. This will be our third year of doing the Walk of Hope. It's at Foster Park in the Senior Center. The city's been great about letting us use that space. And what we do is we have breakfast that morning. So everyone, and it's free. There's no charge to anything that we have. Come in, get breakfast, and then we have speakers. We usually talk about the statistics a little bit specific to Howard County, because that's, those are our neighbors. Those are the people we love.
Our kids.
And which is that breaks our heart every time we hear of anybody passing, but kids especially. Ugh.
Right.
But we talk about the stats. We usually have a survivor come up and talk. We've had last year we had an excellent member of the community come up and talk. We just kind of put something out on social media. Hey, is anybody willing to talk about their experience? She came forward and just knocked it out of the park. We'll probably do the same thing this year, because it always is so much more personal coming from somebody who has a lived experience. Yeah. And then we always end on kind of a high. That's why we like to have a survivor of like, hey, suicide isn't, it's something you can come through, and you can come through better. And then after that, we go and we take about a mile walk through Foster Park. But we also let people purchase signs in memory of their loved ones. And we line the walk at Foster Park, and we do it in memory of the people that have been lost. And we also have a big banner that we put out with different colored markers. So if you are a family member of a loved one, if you're a survivor, if you know somebody who is a veteran, veteran, that, because that's another super high statistic. Yeah, that's another super high statistic with suicidality. But every color, there's like, I think 10 colors that mean something. And so you sign the poster or the banner in honor of that. So we have this colorful banner at the end of it that we use at events that show, all of the different aspects of it. And we walk the banner through the park as well. And it literally, by the end of it, everyone's clapping for each other. And it really just is meant to be, hey, there's hope.
Yep.
There's a lot out there that's worth living for. And, and there's
hang on,
exactly.
Reach out for help.
Yes, exactly. So it ends up being ending on a really positive note, which we love. And it's first thing in the morning. So by noon, you are out and on your day, hopefully with a big smile on your face.
You're doing amazing work. And I mean, what you offer to this community, and you're an amazing person.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you're just giving back so much, and you're helping so many people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's one of the highlights of what I do.
You're loved.
Thank you.
I'd like to point something out about Christy. As you've been watching this, you know that she is positive and up tempo and happy.
I try.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that she doesn't go through things that are so hard as she's been talking. It doesn't mean I haven't been through things that are hard to talk about.
Yeah. I think one of the things that really have stuck out to me is you look at some of the people that are public figures that have committed suicide. Robin Williams is the one that comes to mind. I mean, one of my favorite. I love Robin Williams so much. Like some of my favorite movies, like Jumanji and Aladdin, and I could go on. But and again, he was a happy, positive person, and you would have never known. I would have been the last person I would have expected to commit suicide. So
now, if we want to attend the event or learn more, where can we find information?
We are all over social media. We are on Facebook. If you look up Suicide Prevention Coalition of Howard County, you can find us. We're on Instagram. We are a member of Turning Point, which is awesome because there is a lot of, dovetailing between substance abuse and suicide and self-health. Oh my gosh, yeah. So you can contact Turning Point and they can get you in contact with us. They have amazing resources. They actually have a hotline now that you can call that is a local hotline that will be answered by a local person that will help not only with suicide and mental health issues, but also with drug addiction. So they've been great. They've been a great partner for us, and we're just excited to see where this keeps moving towards. Social media, Instagram, Turning Point, there's a lot. 988 is just, I tell people, if you are in crisis, that's the number to call. So there's a lot of options that you can reach out to. And the walk, hey, if you just want to show up at 10 a.m. to Foster Park on the 28th, you can do that. And just come and celebrate those that are still around and remember those that have been lost. But we have all of that info about the walk on our Facebook page.
Encourage the ones that do show up.
Exactly.
There is a lot of positivity, and we love
we love you. You're not alone, and we carry bracelets with us all the time with 988 on it, and we give it, say, hey, give this to somebody who needs it. We have magnets, we have resource guides for veterans. So if you're a veteran, if you're a person of color, if you are transgendered, LGBTQIA, a teenager, a man, a woman, we just put all of these specific resources on this resource guide because, again, it helps if you're a veteran, if you can talk to a veteran, if you're a teen, if you can talk to a teen. So we have all of these resources that we just want to give to people. We will spend every penny we have plus some giving resources to the community because that's how you combat suicide.
That's amazing.
It's through the resources that are there. They just need to be tapped into.
Absolutely. Christy Tate again with us from the Suicide Coalition of Howard County.
Yes.
And so just call your family members. Ask them how they're doing.
Pick up the phone.
Yes.
You love them.
Yeah.
I mean, just encourage them. Let them know that you are here for them. I mean, what's 5 minutes?
Yeah.
What's a couple of minutes?
Yeah. My dad has started calling me every couple of days.
Yeah.
Hey, Christy. Hey, it's your dad.
Yeah.
How are you? And I know, he's so gruff and grumpy and loving all at the. He's a big teddy. Yeah. He's just a big teddy bear. And I just laugh because it's always, hey, Christy, it's your dad. And I'm like, yeah, Dad. I know it's you. Yeah.
I have your number memorized.
Picture shows up on my phone and I just laugh and he's like, hey, how are you? What are you doing? Where you at? And I'm just like, and he's doing it out of a place of love, and it makes me laugh. And I've started like, that's his love language. He calls and checks up on me and knows I live alone and he wants to make sure I'm okay. And it's sweet. And
just a couple of minutes. That's all it takes just to check on the person.
Exactly.
That's what they want. And that's want to communicate.
Yeah.
They want to know that they're loved.
I do that, smile and roll my eyes and pick up the phone. Like, hey, Dad, what's going on? What's going on? Hey, I'm sitting at home like I am every night when you call me at 7. Like, but yeah, it does. And that's all it does. And it makes, it gives me a little warm in my heart. And I know that he'd drive across town if he needed to. Do you need anything? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And we truly love you.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome too.
Christy again from the Suicide Coalition of Howard County. The Walk for Hope is coming up September 28th. Foster Park. Thank you so much for watching The Ripple Effect. We're so glad to have you here. I'm Jessica Osbrook. This is Kim Graves. We're from Solidarity Community Federal Credit Union, and we'll see you next week.